Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a coaching session with a lovely streamer by the name of ROSELOL, who you can find at twitch.tv/RoseLOL. How are you doing today?
Like what? Like why do you have to do the LOL? Like it's LOL. It's Rose LOL.
Okay, twitch.tv/RoseLOL.
Thank you. I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Are you excited for your coaching session today for the champion known
Yes.
as Vex?
Yes, sir. I am so excited.
So we're going to talk about runes and itemization before we go over one of her VOD reviews. And the first thing that we're going to go over today is Domination Tree. So there are two rune pages. Well, there's a lot of rune variations, but the two main keystones that you're going to be using, Rose, is Electrocute and Predator. So even with the nerfs of Predator, there are certain situations where Predator is going to be more valuable than Electrocute. But just for now, we're going to talk about the most ideal kill page. So Vex has a lot of winning matchups, which means that she has a lot of lanes where she can snowball and translate that gold lead to advantages elsewhere on the map. So taking strong, aggressive early game keystones is what allows you to create leads, and that's why we take Electrocute in a lot of our games. So from this point onwards, you're making two different decisions here. You already have Electrocute for damage, so you can either supplement it with even more damage if it is a fairly safe lane for you, and you can snowball easily. Alternatively, if you're not feeling confident, then you can take Taste of Blood to supplement your lane sustain. So think of a matchup where you don't really have much threat from the enemy, but you have a lot of potential to do damage. You take Cheap Shot. Now think of a lane where damage isn't a necessity, but you do need a little bit more sustain to deal poke damage. You take Taste of Blood. I typically run Electrocute Cheap Shot. Next up, Eyeball Collection is a rune that synergizes very good with Vex because it enables you to get even more damage. So theoretically, it is easier to stack Zombie Ward or Ghost Poro, and they give you the benefits of vision. But Eyeball Collection is the only rune where you can get a pentakill at level 1 and then completely snowball the game with 40 AP. So for that reason, Eyeball Collection is our number 1 here. So here's where the game gets even more interesting. There's a lot of rune variations for this one in particular. Not many people run Ravenous Hunter since the nerfs, so what you're most likely going to be running is either Ingenious Hunter or Ultimate Hunter. So the reason why we don't ever run Relentless Hunter, even though Vex is considered a very strong roam champion, is because if you already had the intention from the draft to play for roaming, you would just take Predator and Ingenious, right? So this is kind of a dead key. It's kind of a dead rune. Like, it's still good. It's still very consistent. But if you already had the intention to play for roams, then you would have taken just Predator straight up. So Ingenious Hunter is really cool because it gives you the ability to use Predator on cooldown, basically. But it also enables you to do something really cool with the new item called Crown of the Shattered Queen. I don't know the exact name of the item. But the cooldown on Crown is 40 seconds, and when you take Ingenious Hunter Rose, it goes down to 25. So theoretically, you can use Crown multiple times over a minute of laning. So you might want to take this into longer poke lanes, but the thing is they can also just stop you, because if you stay in combat, it doesn't recharge.
Okay.
Very cool. But my general preference is Ultimate Hunter, because Ultimate Hunter is the main part of your kit, your ultimate. So if you ever have ultimate, you are capable of threatening people with violence, extreme violence, killing them.
Yeah. Okay.
Do you have any questions so far?
I do not. That was a lot of information, though. I assume you're assuming that we're getting Crown if we're going Ingenious.
Yeah, if you're going Crown, you can still run Ultimate Hunter. You don't need to double down. So like we talked about, it's a 25 seconds versus 40. Depending on the composition, it might be irrelevant. Because sometimes you're not going to need that extra 15 seconds, or sometimes you will. It just depends on the composition. Because realistically, let's say you ult in, and if you're ulting in, you already have Crown, you're not going to be able to trigger a second time in that fight anyways. So, do you get value out of having Crown with Ingenious Hunter? In that context, no, but the main thing is that if you're playing Vex, you're throwing yourself into the enemy team, so you only need the one charge. If you were sieging, then maybe finding a second usage of Crown would be worthwhile. But if you're sieging in the first place, I already assume you're going to throw yourself in the enemy team and explode. So,
yeah.
For that purpose, Ultimate Hunter is very poggers. So this is my ideal main page. If you are not running Electrocute, then you could do something like this. So you could run this variation. I would still probably go Eyeball Collection, but you could take Zombie Ward or Ghost Boral, and this is just a very consistent, safe option. You get the sustain from Taste of Blood. You can use Predator to roam. Increase cooldown on your Predator boots. You can use it on your Zonias. You can use it on your Crown. So all around, this is just a very safe option if you're in a bad matchup where you feel like you're just going to lose.
Okay.
So if you do not have the ability to kill your lane opponent, so let's say it's a Galio, Twisted Fate, it is a Vladimir, it is a Zed, most of the time you're going to take Predator because there's no point in laning. So you take Predator, you take TP, and you just play for map.
Okay.
Don't ever take Dark Harvest, though. That'll hurt you. And then let's talk about secondary rune. So this is mostly preference. I think the strongest rune page right now in terms of secondary is always going to be Biscuit Delivery and Time Warp Tonic. So if you're playing C-Pot and you take C-Pot in matchups where you want to have wave clear, it gives you extra sustain and also allows you to trade effectively, then you would take Time Warp Tonic and Biscuit Delivery. Something that I've been personally testing is if you're taking Ingenious Hunter, then you can double down with Cosmic Insight, which also gives you item haste. And then you can run Futures Market. The Futures Market's a really cool rune, allows you to hit your item spikes faster. So since you're already playing for mid to later, you're playing for... See, this just allows you to item spikes. Applies item haste.
Okay.
There's very rare occasions where you go Everfrost and stuff like that, but it's really just what it comes down to. 90% of the time you take attack speed because you are a nightmare when it comes to autoing, so enabling that is very good. If you're in a matchup where you're unable to auto or they outrange you, like let's say in a Azir, then you can just take double adaptive.
Okay.
There's very, very rare matchups where you can't auto. Azir's like the only one where I've been able to do nothing in lane phase. It also depends because if you're playing Predator, you don't have to do an auto combo. You can just EQ at max range. It's just whenever I take Electrocute, I feel pressured to do like long trades to proc Electrocute. So level 1 through 2, the easiest way to proc Electrocute is to auto level 1 with Fear, or auto Q auto, whatever you start with. But Predator, you don't even need to engage. You can just take long range poke and then away. Now, just in case anybody wants to flame me in the chat selection, the comments, yes, you can take Comet. Yes, Comet does theoretically more DPS over time, but you're not playing a champion that's meant to do poke. You are a one-shot nuke champion. I refuse to accept it.
Yeah, I watched a ton of Koreans play this champ, and they never took Comet.
Nice. Thank you for backing me up on that one. Alright, so let's go and take a look at items. Well, basically, your first itemization is always going to be these two options. You're either taking Corrupting Potion or you're taking... Sorry, not Boots, Deering. So how do we determine between these two items? It comes down to some very small elements. If you take Time Warp Tonic, always go C-Pot. So C-Pot buffs... Time Warp Tonic gets more value from C-Pot. Get more pots. So you might as well take Corrupting Potion. And this enables Wave Clear. So if you're playing against a champion where trading doesn't actually, or it does have slight impact, but Wave Clear is the most important thing for stuff like roaming, then you are going to need Corrupting Potion. If you feel like you have a kill lane and you are taking Sorcery secondary, or you're taking a variation of Cosmic Insight or Futures Market, then you can still go Doran's Ring. It's just you have to understand that you have less sustain, so if you end up wasting mana, or even taking bad trades, you don't have as much resource management.
Makes sense.
So this is overall just super consistent and it's basically unlosable, but in certain matchups you can take D-Ring and there's nothing they can do to you. So it just happens like that. Matchups that I consider extremely hard to lose is the Yone matchup. The Yone matchup's basically unlosable. And even then, you just take C-Pot to play for wave clear, and they can't ever walk up. Sometimes being more consistent is more valuable than having kill pressure. Depends on the jungle champion. And let's go and talk about first itemization. So this is my personal preference, but this is something that I will typically do. But I try to buy a Dark Seal on my first recall every single time. So the reason why I do this is because Dark Seal, broken item, and it synergizes extremely well with Vex. So Vex is a champion that has extreme 2v2 pressure, extreme 1v1 pressure, and has the ability to roam. So when you think of Darkseal, you think of free stacks and free ability power. So by itself, if you see on my screen, they can't see, but the gold value is 430, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is already a valuable item. It gives you health and it gives you ability power. But when you stack it, it goes from 123 gold efficiency to 372.
Ooh.
So 40 ability power. To get 40 ability power, you have to buy a blasting wand for 850 gold. But just by playing your champion, you're getting a blasting wand worth of stats for free. So Darkseal on every recall, first back. And this is what my items will typically look like. And if you're not able to do this, it's because you straight up have access to this item, which is Lost Chapter.
Mm-hmm.
So Lost Chapter is a really great item because it gives you extra mana. It gives you the ability to permanently wave clear. It gives you the ability to just ignore the matchup if it's bad. Now, there are situations where you are playing a champion, like Vex, and the lane doesn't actually matter. So if you go C-Pot, you have enough sustain anyways, so you could technically skip the Lost Chapter, and you could go straight Sorcerer Boots. So can you tell me what you feel like the idea behind going early boots is?
Yeah, I see the Koreans do this. Is it so you can like roam?
100%. So getting extra move speed allows you to rotate around the map. It allows you to gank lanes. It allows you to help your jungle. But also in certain matchups, it enables you to maintain distance control. So if you're against a very poke-heavy champion like Xerath, or you're playing against a champion that is very mobile, having the extra move speed makes it easier for you to mitigate their engage, because you have more move speed to work with. Now, the con to going Sorcerer Boots is if you go first time Sorcerer Shoes and they build a Null Mantle, you just lose instant. But if they go Null Mantle, then just go walk down the bot lane and get a double.
Yeah, yeah.
So you don't necessarily need the Null Mantle, the enemy does. If you're playing against a really rough AP matchup like Syndra or LeBlanc, then you yourself can build a Null Mantle. It's kind of a necessity. You just have to build it if you're playing Vex. In terms of mythics, there's a lot of actual mythics that are good on Vex right now. It's kind of interesting. I don't think there's much of a reason to build Everfrost anymore with the introduction of Crown, but it's still an option if you like it. But these are the 4 mythics you should always be going. I'm going to put it in order of what I feel like is the most consistent. Mythics. So if you are building Crown, it is because they have 1 or 2 Assassin Champions. So even if you build Crown, your combo does 1.3 to 1.4k damage at level 9 with a mythic item and Sorcerer Boot. So this is 1.4k damage. If you go Ludens, you do 1.6k damage with your combo. And it gives you a lot more pressure, and it also makes you very vulnerable to, getting one shot.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're playing against a 80 assassin mid or an 80 assassin jungle, I would just build Crown anyway, because Crown is the most consistent item in the game until it gets nerfed. So 99% of your situations, building Crown is never a mistake. But if you are a better player than the enemies, you actually get more value out of the Ludens Tempest. So even though this makes you more vulnerable, this item synergizes better with your champion because you kind of are reliant on the magic penetration. So it's kind of just a trade-off. Do you want to be an unkillable one-shot mage that is completely reliant on reading damage? Or do you just want to one-shot anybody no matter what without having to train?
I think as is expired, probably the first option.
Pretty much, yeah. Like even myself, like even if I know Ludens is, we can go and even look at statistics for you. This might be helpful. But if you take a look at Masters Plus on Lawlytics, take a look at Vex itemization, you'll see a common trend here, which is this is a 56% win rate and this is a 54. So Ludens has a higher win rate, whereas Crown's at a 54.4, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in terms of games played, this is 3,200 versus 1.6. That's a lot of games. That's a lot of sample size. But if we go down to Diamond, we'll see that Crown probably has a higher win rate just because it requires less skill expression. So we see a 53 here for Ludens, and we see a 53.6 here for Crown. Now, in terms of game sample size, that's a lot of games, right?
Yeah.
So Crown, as an identity, like this suits you better as a player because you play a lot of Ziggs. And this makes it to where you can make more mistakes and get away with it. But as a player, when you develop more of a skill expression, Ludens is going to enable what you want to do as a champion. Because at the end of the day, what is Vex's identity archetype as a champion?
Like assassin.
She's an assassin. She's meant to one-shot people. I don't care if you die instantly as long as you kill 3 people with you. So for that purpose, Ludens suits her playstyle better. But as we can see here, Crown is just more consistent if you're not great at the champion. It's just very skill expression dependent. If you are going Everfrost, it's specifically because you have an Omega meme matchup. This is what... Yeah, so before Crown was introduced, you would go Everfrost, Zonias into stuff like Zed or Kiana. But with the introduction of Crown, there's kind of like no reason ever to build Everfrost.
Okay.
So the only reason you go Everfrost is if you're playing Glacial. And you don't ever play Glacial unless you're trolling in support. So that's why this is here. Leandri's, this is the go-to option if the enemy team is stacking health. So if you're playing against something like, let's say, a Silas mid lane, a Cho'Gath mid lane, Set mid lane. There's champions that build health, jungles that build health, top that build health. Leandri's is going to give you better DPS. And most of the time when you're playing against HP stacking champions, they're all melee. Or they're very short range, which means you can just use this item as a kiting tool, really. So often when you see people going Leandri's, they take Comet because it's very hard to get on a Vex if you're playing backline. In terms of second itemization, this is our core. After you build those mythics, this is kind of basically your options. You can go Shadow Flame, you can go Horizon Focus, go Zonias. You can build Void Staff. Typically, if you're playing against a team with shields, Shadow Flame is going to give you the most value. If you're not playing against a team with shields and just want straight damage, then Horizon Focus would be your item. This gives you ability haste as well as a decent bit of ability power. And then if you just want survivability to make sure that you're capable of jumping into their team, if you go with Ludens first item, then going Zonias is great. But you can also build Zonias on top of Crown if you're in a really rough matchup. You're going to get one shot even here. Void Staff, if you're playing into a bunch of teams that are stacking magic resist, would be your ideal secondary item. And then after that, it's basically always going to be situational, but it's a variation of these items, including Rabadon's Death Cap.
But you would never build it second.
The only time you'd ever build Rabadon's Death Cap second is if you're like 10 and 0 at 5 minutes.
Okay.
Something to note, if you're on 10 Dark Seal stacks, then you can also buy Mejai's because this gives you a instant mythic passive. So you get 5 extra magic pen from. So this combination of items is disgusting because it's a very strong power spike, a lot of ability power, and then you'll basically, you add 18 to 6, you have 24, you add 5, you have 29 magic pen. Most people don't build magic resist all the way up until masters. You're effectively doing 100% damage to any player you're.
Okay.
So a lot of League of Legends is either itemizing to enable your win condition or itemizing to disable an enemy's win condition. So when you go into a game, you have to identify your personal win con, which is what you need to do to in your particular matchup, and what you need to do to succeed as a team. So if I'm playing against a Zed, and Zed's an unwinnable matchup for me, all I need to do is create a situation where he can't play the game the way he wants to by going Crown into Zonias, and then just hope he has a miserable time. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the gameplay portion. We're going to be going over a real game. So, in this game, you are taking Comet, and you are taking Ignite. And take a look at your full runes for this game. So,
oh, I took Comet?
Yeah, you took Comet, you took Mana Flow, you took Transcendence, Scorch, Biscuit Delivery, and Cosmic Insight.
Yeah, that was my root. But that was my Lux page that I didn't change.
Okay,
Are
so
you
this is
mad?
no, this is fine. So into a Silas,
Okay.
this is one of the matchups where Comet is fine.
Oh, really?
It's one of
How
the rare
lucky.
matchups where Comet's fine. I would still go Electrocute personally, but this is fine because you are committing to a Leandre's game. You're playing
Hmm.
versus a Silas, you're playing versus a Zion.
Yeah,
Now,
I totally went Leandres this game. Don't worry.
yeah, so these two people comprise of their tanky frontline that stack HP.
Hmm.
But the thing that we have to understand is, are these two people their carries?
Uh, I think maybe Silas is.
He
Sort
definitely
of.
quantifies as a carry champion, but what we're trying to identify here is it our job to kill the tanks or is it our job to kill the Kazakhs, the Jin, and the
Oh.
Soraka?
Yeah, our job to kill Kazakhs and Soraka.
So with our team, we have a Cho'Gath, we have a Shaco, we have a Kindred, and we have a Thresh. So theoretically, Kindred should be able to deal with the Silas and with the Scion, assuming that they play bot lane correctly.
Hmm.
So because we're building Lost Chapter regardless, you can still tech into either one as long as you're building your main core items. But once we get to like 5 or 10 minutes, you kind of know what's going to happen based on like what lanes are doing well. Because if
Hmm.
Silas is 0 and 3, and let's say the set or the Scion's behind is like 0-2, who should we be itemizing to play against?
Jin and Kazakhs.
Yeah, so if they're performing better than these two players, then we need to shut down the Kazakhs or shut down the Jin, shut down the Soraka. But vice versa, let's say that these two people are 0-8, this guy's like 1-1, and these people are 4 and 5, then I would probably itemize to cancel out these two guys.
Okay.
It really just depends on your champion composition and stuff like that. But by all means, Leandre's is a consistent item purchase game.
You saw what I went, right?
I don't remember, so we'll find out as we go through.
You're gonna be mad.
Yeah. But main things, top lane, kind of a bully matchup. It just goes either way. Depends on who gets more ganks. Shaco versus Kazakhs is slightly Kazakh's favorite unless the Shaco has boxes set up, but he does have Ignite advantage with lethal tempo. Vex versus Silas is a really interesting matchup because it really does go both ways depending on who plays well, but I think it is Silas favored mostly. It's just a lot easier for Silas to play this. Now, as a Vex, you win this until level 6. Bot lane, I've never seen a Kindred bot that has performed well, so I'm just going to assume that the Jin and Soraka win. But theoretically, this lane is stronger because they have a lot more kill pressure. So if this lane ever gets hooked, that should be a kill for your Kindred. So through this, we found out this is an equal lane. It's slightly Shaco favored. You have the advantage early, and then your bot lane has the advantage early. So based off of this, this is a priority checklist. You guys have more lanes to play around early. You do have 2 scaling champions. And they have 3 scaling champions. And then these 2 champions just perform no matter what. So you can play through whatever win condition you like. But for the most part, you guys should definitely be playing around the Kindred and shutting down the Jin and the Soraka.
Right.
That is
Is
my...
this information that I should know every game, every matchup versus every lane?
One of the best ways to improve as a player is to actively think. Because a lot of games, we play games on autopilot. And we're not focusing on what kinds of things we should be doing to succeed. So when you force yourself to actively think and address specific parts of the game through like a checklist, it makes you more aware of like how the game's going to proceed and what you need to focus on. So
Okay.
doing a priority checklist lets you know what side of the map you're playing around early and what you should be playing towards. What is my win condition? We have good early game, we have good mid game, we have good late game, right?
Yeah. As a Ziggs player, like I look at that top lane matchup, I'm like, yeah, they're like tanky. I don't know who wins though. Like,
Yeah, and
so
that's
is
fine.
that
Like
something
you
that
want
I
to make
should?
your best judgment. And the
Uh-huh.
cool thing about this is once you've seen how it goes this game, then you kind of make that assessment for the rest of your game.
Okay.
But the one matchup that you should always know is yours versus the enemy meds, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is the one win condition that you have to determine for yourself. We already know that this is not a great matchup for you. And he's got teleport, right? So teleport
Mm-hmm.
conquer, you're running poke runes and you have ignite. So he's got better side laning potential and he's got better macro potential because of teleport. So if you're not able to one-shot this Silas, then you lose because he teleports back and has advantage. It's very Omega cringe.
Okay.
Yep, so we're going to just watch it now. In terms of itemization, this is fine. It's just that you're running Cosmic Insight, so... The thing with Cosmic Insight is it doesn't work with your Liandry's. So typically when people go Cosmic Insight, it's so that they get extra procs on their Ludens, or they just want to use Flash more often. Or Zonias and vice versa. But in a matchup like this, I find Time Warp Tonic to be more valuable because you are going to be trading aggressively, especially with Ignite. So it gives you more room to apply pressure.
Okay.
Cosmic Insight just isn't as versatile. But
Yeah.
you never know. Flash igniting often. Super cool. So this is a good invade from you guys because you do have better level 1 unless they're stacking with Scion. So leading with the hook in the bush, Pog. A first blood advantage. So this is really great because top lane is the lane that we should be abandoning to begin with. Because it's just a 1v1 bruiser matchup, right? So if we start topside, then that means that we can play towards our Kindred and Thresh. But we can already identify a really major mistake from our team, which is, where's our Shaco starting?
Is he not supposed to start here?
Okay, so if he starts here,
He has to pass bot lane so he can gank bot lane and fuck top lane island.
Yeah, so this guy didn't burn Flash. He's got an item advantage, but who are the two most, like, suspectable members of their team?
Yeah, okay.
So these are the people we should be trying to shut down. These are the people we should be trying to snowball. I don't care about the Cho'Gath. The Cho'Gath is irrelevant to me. So the moment that this Shaco determines that he's starting red side, that means he's pathing towards top, which means that bot lane is by themselves for 3 minutes and 10 seconds. That's a rough estimate. Sorry, actually, it's not even 3:15. It's 4 minutes and 10. So until 4 minutes and 10 seconds, your bot lane's by themselves. So they're in a 2v2 matchup. Both jungles are heading towards top. And a lot of ways you can consider that to be a good thing, right? If they're in a 2v2 matchup, who wins?
They do. We do.
We do.
We, us.
So it's a good thing, but even though it's a winning 2v2 for us, it's still better to play around our bot lane because they are a win condition, right? If I get my Cho'Gath fed...
Like, am I supposed to be pinging my jungler be like, you should start topside and path bot? Like, is that what I should do?
It doesn't really matter. You could do that. But the reason why it's important to identify these things is so that we know what we're playing around.
Oh,
so
okay.
We now identify that our jungle's pathing towards topside, which means what crab are we fighting for if there is a crab fight?
Top.
Yeah, so that means that we're playing for pressure on top crab. And the easiest way to identify this kind of scenario is where is the enemy jungle starting? So
I don't think I knew.
So we don't know until we either get vision or until they show bot side.
Yeah.
So if we know for a fact that Kha'Zix starts blue, there are like 3 options he can do. He can do a 3 camp, he can do a 5 camp, he can do a 6 camp. But by starting bottom, he should be heading towards topside, right? Is this bot lane gankable?
Jin Soraka?
Yeah, is that gankable for him early?
No.
No, so there's no point in going towards bottom, so we already know that by starting blue buff, he's going to end up at his red buff, which means he's going to be on the top side of the map. So just by knowing where he starts, we now know what he's going to be doing for the next 3 minutes and 15 seconds, no matter what. So what you can do as a mid laner to always identify where somebody's starting is you can either drop a ward on the camp, or you can do the tried and true mid laner tech and just drop a ward right here at 115 or 125.
Okay. I usually look at the mana of the bot laner, and if they're missing mana, then I just assume they leashed.
Yeah, and that's fine. The reason why I like to do this ward at 115 is because if you're not able to move to get this ward at 2 minutes, it's already there. The issue with doing a 125 ward right here is that if they cut you off from re-entering lane, you just lose instantly unless you have a winning matchup. So dropping this ward at 115 means you are getting vision of raptors, and you get vision of ramp. So this defends your topside scuttle, it defends you from a topside gank, and it gives us information on whether or not they're skipping this camp, doing this camp, and vice versa. Because if we see that Kazik starts bottom, and he shows right here, and he's 12 CS, what does that mean?
He did 3 camps?
Yes, so that means he's done 3 camps. So if he shows up at these Raptors and he has, let's say, 8 CS, then that means he skipped one of his camps. And that is information that we need to know. Because if he has 8 CS and he did Wolves and shows up here, then that means he's not going to hit level 3 off this camp. But if he did Gromp, then he would hit level 3 off this camp.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, let me write this down.
Yeah. But basically, all you need to know, place this ward at 115. If you're playing a standard game of Vex and you don't do this ward, just push on second wave and then drop a ward right here at like 2 minutes. 2 minutes.
Okay.
If you see this camp gone, then you kind of assume that he's on the other side of the map at that point. But finding out where the enemy jungle starts is really, really important as a mid laner.
So I don't get fucked.
Exactly.
Or can I say that?
Yeah,
so
you
I
can
don't
say
get
that.
Hecked up.
So you don't get fucked up. Alright, so at this point, you are playing ranged into a melee. So the first thing that we need to do is, Silas is a champion in melee. He's got a little bit longer range than other people, but he has 2 choices. He can either start Q or he can start E. If he starts Q, that means he's 100% committed to farming at max range. And if he starts E, that means he has the potential to play extremely aggressively, but does he have the ability to harass you at range or secure farm at max range?
No.
He does not. So the moment we see him use his first skill completely determines the tone of this matchup. If he starts E, he's trolling. If he starts Q and he uses Q to harass or hit a minion, then you instantly win.
Okay.
So starting E here is correct because it has a much larger radius and it makes it easier to land. Some people go Q into ranged versus ranged matchups, but I just go E into every single matchup. So at this point, you have immediately autoed, and you've created a situation where the minion wave is now desynced. So when you desync a minion wave, you're creating a situation where the minions are no longer dying at the same time. So if this minion dies first, and then this one dies second, you have an intermission period where you can play aggressively and go for poke. But both of these minions dying at the same time, do you have the same opportunity to go for poke? So this is correct. You're creating a situation like that. But we have to remember that we're playing a ranged champion into a melee. So this is your Sphere of Influence. This represents the maximum range that you can attack. This position changes every single time that you move. So the positioning is what enables this spear, right? So there's a very big difference from you standing right here and having this radius of protection, and you standing right here and having this range of protection, right? Because now if he wants to access these minions, he has to enter your range. But as of right now, can he hit the minions without entering your range?
No.
He can if he Qs.
Oh, yeah, true.
So you're not applying enough pressure given the matchup.
Okay.
Because he can still farm for free safely by trading resources, which is his mana, but you're not creating a situation where it's a W/W, which is a win-win. Because he's being given the opportunity to just take a good trade. So at this point, you get the first minion. You don't have to play this super fast, but you can if you want. But we do want to naturally we want to hover towards him because at any given point, if you auto E auto, you always win the trade.
Okay.
If he dashes in and you E him and he gets feared away, you also win. So exerting pressure here and then forcing him off the minion wave lets you control the pace at which the minion wave crashes. Because if I move forward here and I stand here, or I move forward here and I stand here, he's not able to access the wave at all. And if he can't access the wave, can he Q the minion wave? No, because he has to either trade HP or just get poked out. So you're not denying him right now when you could be standing here or you could be standing here. And if he moves forward to get this minion, he has to walk all this way back while getting autoed.
Got it.
So right now, this minion, and then this minion, this is called minion sequencing. It's the order in which you kill minions, or how minions die. So we know for a fact that he wants this minion right now, This minion right here is what he wants to take, so we are probably going to see him start Q and Q this minion. So how do we take advantage of that?
We walk up.
We put ourselves in a position where we can punish that, right? So if you identify this and you do not move forward, it's because you are not identifying it. So right now, are we pressuring this minion?
We are not.
We are not, because we are walking away. Okay. So this is still good. Like, even if you don't start with an auto for like min-max, this is still like 100% a good trade. So, can Silas extend this trade into you?
He does. Spoilers.
Okay, because if you just auto him straight up here, even if he ease into you, you still win. Because he's D-ring 2 pots in your C pot, which means you always have more sustain to him. So he dashes in, you get a double doom. Can he do more damage to you?
No, he cannot.
So why are we increasing the distance between us?
Because I thought the minions were hitting me.
That's fine, like you have C pots. Does he have Ignite?
No.
How long is his E cooldown?
Very long.
Very, very long. So at this point, he just did his full combo. He's nothing more that he can do to you. So all you need to do is extend this trade all the way to his tower.
Okay.
And 9 out of 9 times here, you burn his teleport off of it. Or if he disrespects you, then you kill him.
So I could have won right there.
You could have won right here.
But I didn't. Spoilers, I did not. I did not win.
So you're basically, you just let him do all that damage and then walk away. So you only get 1 auto, you could have gone 2.
Okay.
And then even then, these 2 health pots, that's 300 HP, right? But how much HP do we get from Corrupting Potion?
I don't know.
We get 125 times 3, so that's 375.
Oh, okay.
We also have biscuits, and we also, if we did have Time Warp Tonic, then we'd get more value out of our Corrupting Potion. So even if he takes an even trade, who does that favor?
It favors me.
Because even if you do 100 for 100, who does more damage in a one-shot situation?
I do.
You do only because you have Ignite.
Yes.
So the only reason why you win this technically is because you can Grievous his W and you do more damage because of Ignite. You also have the pressure of W here.
Okay.
If he teleports back, then technically you're doomed, but as of right now, if you hit 1 more C-pot stack, you're basically back at full HP. That doesn't matter. But we know for a fact that this guy's E cooldown super long, so at this point, you should just be walking up and autoing every time he walks up.
Yeah.
And it's still only 1 minute and 53 seconds, so we know that Kha'Zix started bottom, so this defensive ward means we can play as aggressively as we want as long as we drop a ward over here. So at this point, we identify these as windows of opportunity, last hit windows. Do we need to push this lane in right now?
No, we do not.
So if we stack this wave up, then we're creating a situation where you can auto him on every single one of these minions. So building this wave up to be significantly larger is going to be in your favor, because as long as you hold the wave right here, is he able to safely farm?
No.
But if the lane gets pushed over here, can he now farm safely?
Yes.
He can, just because it's difficult for you to poke him under tower. Like, getting memed on by tower shots accidentally. So as long as we hold the wave right here, we're creating a situation where he is unsafe. So you want to hold this position as long as possible, because once you push this in the tower, if he uses his skills on the minion wave, he loses the game instantly again. Because he has to pick one. He either takes the minion wave and 9 billion damage, or he engages on you and loses the minion wave. So right now, you're playing correctly. Doing a good job.
Thanks, King.
No problem. So if we slowed this down just a little bit, and this cannon wave came in, we could do something called a cheater recall. But
oh yeah, I used to do that with Ziggs.
It's not that great on Vex because we're already in a position of winning. We're 418 versus 420, but we have more sustain available because we have two pots versus 1. So at this point, you're making a mistake right now. So you slow push this wave, but are we denying him on a single one of these minions right now?
We are not.
We are not, because we're going for a ward. So something that we could have done is when we were slow pushing it, we could have dropped a ward over here and then hovered this side. But you're placing a ward on the wrong side of the map. And this is a gank that will happen in Masters. If you're playing a Masters game and you play like this, you probably will get ganked from the bot side of mid. But all the way from, let's say, gold until Masters 200 LP, they're just going to continue farming this way. So right now, you go for this ward, and if you go for the Pixel Bush ward, you're losing like 8 seconds here. So let's go and watch. So we place a ward. This is a good compromise because it means you can still go ahead and pressure this. But there's 3 conditions for warding. One is a purpose. So the purpose of this ward is to deter a bot side gank, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the purpose is fine, but in terms of timeliness, is this ward placed at the correct time?
If I don't place it when I push a wave in, when do I place it?
In terms of like timing and sense of when you did it, it was fine to place it, but we're referring in terms of where Kha'Zix is. Does this ward prevent Kha'Zix from ganking you?
No, sir. Because they are all pathing topside.
They are all pathing topside. So this ward being placed at 220 is kind of irrelevant. Because if I place a ward right here, if I place a ward on Raptors right here, and he doesn't show up at Raptors, I get the same information, but it also protects me from the topside gank. Because if I see this not being done, and he hasn't shown through going to red, then where could he be?
What?
Exactly. So if I'm hovering on this side, and I place my ward, even if I place my ward right here, I'm already leaning on the right side of the map because I'm playing towards my jungle. But it also gives me jungle tracking information, it protects me from a gank, and I can still play aggressively on this wave. But the moment I go for this ward right here, I'm pulled away from my wave, I'm not pressuring the Sylas, but I'm also not getting useful information from my teammates. So placing a ward that is like this, it's kind of a selfish ward, but it's also a bad ward. In the context of things, I understand why you did this, and this isn't that bad, but it could be significantly better. Even if you did a ward like this, or even if you did a ward like this, these 2 wards play towards your team, but also enable you as well. So at this point, how many minions is he getting for free? He gets 1, he gets 2. So he got 3 wards, or he got 3 minions. We see him use Q. What does that mean to us?
He only has E.
Exactly. So if he walks up to auto any of these minions, we need to be in a position where we can play aggressively on him. So that's a great E. And you get the Q as well. At this point, we know he's on the second half of his E, so this is a very long cooldown, right?
Oh.
So you can just auto him all the way here as long as you're standing behind a minion. So instead of walking away here, you can just walk upwards and keep autoing him as long as you're standing behind the minion.
Okay.
Because if he dashes back in, it applies Doom again, and you just get more damage for free.
Because I, place my ward on the bot side, it is also making me make other mistakes as well.
It is all kind of a snowball effect. Because now we have to respect this side of the map.
Yeah.
But this also means if you guys play for Crab, you have vision of this area.
No.
So you're not respecting the fact that you win 2 versus 2 here. Because we identify that this is in our favor of Ignite. We also have Ignite on mid lane, so this is just a damage. We win this 2 versus 2. But we're also not hovering the bottom side of the lane. So even though we place this ward, can we still die from a gank like this?
Yes.
Technically, yes. You'd be forced to burn flash if they jumped in on you. So we should not be playing on this side, because this is a very short distance. We should be playing over here to increase the distance he has to walk.
The minions are on the left side, so I didn't want to get eat, I guess.
That's true, but as long as you have fear, it doesn't matter. He also has, yeah. So at this point, we know he 100% wants cannon, so you should be playing in a way that allows you to punish this cannon. Okay, nice try. So he goes in, he has no stun anymore. What do we do here?
Auto.
auto W, auto Q, auto. Yep. You don't have Q, so it's all fine as long as you W. Wow, he actually does this. And then here you would want a Biscuit, because Biscuit does more at lower HPs.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
so I would Biscuit first and then Corrupting Potion.
How do you spell this?
Biscuit. So this is 10% mything health and mana. It also gives you 50 max mana whenever you use it, which is Pog. Let's go back here and see why this went this way.
I don't think I autoed. I think I just W'd right away.
Well, you EQ'd here. So you used your fear and then you missed your Q. So you know he's chain. And then we go back into auto and you misclick, so you start moving into him and he W's the melee range. So theoretically, you could avoid this by just walking away. Because as long as you disengage and he doesn't have chain to go for this minion, you're technically winning because this is pushing back to you. It's just the moment we commit our EQ like that, we either have to disengage by increasing more space between us, or we just have to land it. They're one of them. But I'm sure this is a concept that you know, but this is a rope that connects us, and this is called a tether. So tethering is a concept about maintaining distance or utilizing distance. So whenever I'm in a position of weakness, which is whenever my skills are down, let's say my EQ, and he has more combat power than me, I need to increase the distance of the rope by moving away. Whenever he makes mistakes, like positioning, or he uses his skills, then I can shorten this rope to take advantage of my combat power advantage by moving in towards him. So the pressure works both ways. We're fighting around minions is like the basics. These are the purpose of why we're trading in the first place. But whenever you're weak, you should kind of follow the rule of creating more distance, and whenever you're stronger, of moving forward. Provided that you have the proper vision control for it.
Okay.
So at this point, this is kind of a dangerous position to be in. We do have access to more sustain on this next C-pot, but he now has priority for crab, right? So in this context, if your team ends up fighting for crab, then you would probably lose this. You're not in a position to move right. So 315's crab spawn time. Crab doesn't really matter anymore because it got nerfed, so I would never lose the game over crab. Just ignore your jungle if they spam ping for crab. But we knew that this was happening from level 1, right? And we know that we have a stronger 2 versus 2. So we kind of gave up priority here. And in a lot of situations, what you're doing right now is correct. So balancing your wave to make it harder for him to farm because he's a melee is correct. But playing for your jungle on a 2 versus 2 that you win is also correct, right?
Yeah.
So which play is the better play?
Jungle play.
The jungle play is technically better because this gives you, if we're doing like a cost analysis, this play results in more gold overall, right? This gives us more in the long term or the short term. This play makes it incredibly safe for you. It gives you control of the lane and it makes it easy to gank, but it doesn't give us more gold. What kind of champion is Vex?
Assassin?
Yeah, so she's kind of an early game champion. She's a good mid game champion. She's a great late game. She's just broken. But when you are playing solo queue, you want to always have priority. You always want to be in control of the game because you want to have an impact. So if you had a winning support and a winning jungle, playing like this is 100% correct as long as you guys are on the same page. But we identified that this play was happening earlier, so we just need to play towards it. So he might even win this, but it looks like he's not winning it. And you're not in a position to help him, right? At this point, we're forced to disengage. We do burn the teleport, which is a massive W. This is great for us. But we lost the crab. And more importantly, we lost the opportunity to get a kill. Now, this is great for you. This is actually super good. As long as you zone him off here, he's just losing minions for free. So, had your jungle responded to your wave positioning and he didn't do this crab and instead did Gromp, you would both be massively ahead. But the only reason why this is a loss is because you didn't play correctly around the crab, and he didn't correctly play around your positioning of waves. So this goes into a double whammy. Yes, you should have fought for this, but the moment that you were in that situation, he should not have gone for this crab. But right now, as long as you deny him access to this wave, you are winning. So you're playing this exactly correct. You just want to focus on last inning. You just all on him, right?
Yo, Zion, yeah, I'm just trying to figure things out, you know? Don't worry
Yeah.
about
So,
it.
auto W auto, ignite, EQ. He's forced to flash 100% time. So you interrupted his chain. You waited to ignite after he W'd, so he's getting 100 HP for free.
Oh, okay.
So you had to be more... Yeah, so you want to pop your potion. You want to pop the ignite before he W's. Because the moment he did this, you should know he's dead. This is so crazy, like, unacceptable. I cannot believe he even did this. So, in this situation, he's forced to burn flash. No. You would not kill him here. Had you gotten the ignite off, maybe.
Earlier? Mm-hmm.
Because he got 141 HP off of that. He's at 186 right now.
Oh.
So let's go back and let's see how much HP he healed off of that. So you would have cut 60% of that, 60% of 140. Some magical number. I'm going to assume that it's like 55, 60. So he's 330 HP right now. You pop ignite. Okay, 255. He healed 134.
Mm-hmm.
So if you cut this, he would have gotten only 50 health from this. So if you did do it, you probably could have autoed him down here. Probably. Another option is when you're doing this play, you could have maintained range. You didn't have to go melee and give him the chance to do damage back. So you see how you're going melee right here?
Yeah.
You could have just kept a little bit more range from him. You don't have to be melee and give him damage back. Because if you stand here and he ease back into you, then he just goes into tower range, takes a free run. But overall, this is fine because we have flash advantage now. We traded it.
I forgot that happened. Wait, this is on stream. This is on stream. I was streaming. Holy shit. That was so bad. Yeah, I thought to minions. So
I would rage quit right here if I were you. So like in terms of winning plays, the most optimal play right here is not the play anymore. So regardless of what you do as an individual, recovering from this mistake, it's impossible. Like your mental's tanked. So if this were a graph, this is your mental as your winning lane. This is when you kind of mess up the Scuttle Crab play. And then you get off with this really cool flash blow on Silas and you get the gank from the Thresh. And then the moment you die to this, your confidence just plummets.
you should have seen me on stream. I was laughing my ass off. I don't know. It's preseason and I'm limit testing new champion. I was my what's it called? My mental was all good. Confidence
And then time. All right, so how do we recover from this? You can go Boots and Dark Seal here. What is the reason behind going
I thought
Boots?
you said to alt F4.
Oh yeah, Alt F4 is the correct play, but if you can't Alt F4.
Because I'm streaming.
Exactly. So I would go Boots here, what you do, and I would buy Dark Seal. The reason why Boots are great here is because melee champions are very susceptible to distance control, right?
Yeah.
The Boots makes it easier to dodge chains, it makes it easier to get in attack range, mitigate his damage potential. If you're ever losing versus a Silas, this champion's based on levels. Gets more damage from levels, just build a Null Mantle.
Oh, okay.
It'll cut his damage by like 30%. But this is still winnable because you do have Ignite and you're playing a broken champion. But we're in a pretty weird situation because this wave is now pushing towards him. So this is called a slow push. Slow push is a wave that is gradually pushing towards the enemy side. And the reason why this is problematic is because this opens you up to getting ganked, right? So the pros are, with this wave, you get prio. You can roam off this, you can get wards off this. The cons are that you're vulnerable, if I can spell. And it's extremely telegraphed. So if I know wave slay pushing into my teammates, still pushing, then as a jungler, if I see that, then I immediately know to gank that lane. So you would technically burn flash here if you're playing into a good jungle. Now, the cool thing is when you have this many minions, this is called a minion power advantage. So if he fights you in this minion wave, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 minions on your side versus his 6. So he can't fight you in the minion wave, right? So you can technically crash this wave. And right now this guy's going for a ward timer for some reason. Total crab, who knows?
I think he wanted to roam.
Yeah, but now you crash this wave, you make sure it crashes, and then you have a few options. You just recalled, so there's no point in recalling again, so you can either go top, you can go bottom, you can go get wards, or you can pressure him on this wave.
Mm-hmm.
You have 3 4 options, you can pick any one that fits you. You could recall if this were not, 199 gold, but you also went Sapphire Crystal, so I'm kind of cringed. Because you don't need mana, you already have sustain, right? The mana is irrelevant.
It's like a Ziggs habit because I'm streaming.
So at this point, he's getting all these minions for free, and we're not getting anything done with that time because we're just waiting.
I think I'm scared.
And that's perfectly normal to be scared because you guys don't have a lot of vision. But that just means that you're conceding stuff for free.
Yeah. I guess in my view, I wasn't losing any minions, and what's it called? And I'm like a level down because I did a stupid, and then yeah, also like 0 wards on the map.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to push back to you, so you are right that you're not losing anything. And you placed your ward right here, and this is a bad ward because it doesn't protect you from any of the gank routes that would typically happen. So even here, like, you should be placing your ward right here. You have to make sure the ward hugs this side, otherwise they can walk through.
Oh, okay.
But for the most part, this ward's kind of a dead ward. The purpose is to prevent gank, that's fine. Timing-wise, that is fine. But it doesn't fit the characteristics of your... Because it doesn't enable your jungle to gank for you, it doesn't enable your support to roam. This is just kind of a lackluster. You place this down instinctually because you realized I have a ward, I don't know where they are, and then you dropped it. But it's better to have a ward in your inventory than just using it for no reason. Unless you have 3 wards the entire game being used. But this is slow pushing back to you, so you're 2 levels down because of that mistake.
Yeah.
But you're guaranteed to farm this lane safely because eventually it'll push into you. So as long as you're patient, like you talked about, you will eventually get these minions for free. So we want to maintain this skirmish line. As long as we hold the wave past this point, it's very hard for you to get ganked. It's easier for him to get ganked, and it enables your teammates, right? So we just want to make sure we hold this wave as long as we can in a way that's like helpful for us. Because if you immediately break this wave and push it back to him, then you're not getting anything off this. So at this point, we kind of got debated because they had vision in that bush the whole time, so Fresh will 100% die here. Yeah, there's no way that this ever works, so... I agree. You should have just left him to die. No reason for him to gank. Nice. Ah, that's a few. It's all good though, but is there a reason to push now?
Yeah, I just thought that he would go back and I would get my reset here and get level 6 maybe.
Okay.
Potentially, so I can go places and
So,
not have to talk to this guy anymore.
Yeah, so if you reset, you have enough gold to buy an Ampto. Which is great.
But it's pushing to him, no?
It is slow pushing to him. So as of right now, you can hold this wave on your side if you want to. if you push this wave, then you're creating a situation where he's losing minions. So this is fine for you to do because he's not going to be able to get back to lane in time. So you just need to be using your skills. There's no reason to be holding them right now. So you should be EQing the wave. You should be EWing the wave. But you're playing this really slow, right? So tempo is the speed at which you carry out an action. And that's how you take advantage of things like momentum. So he just recalled. Is this fast tempo or slow tempo?
Well, should I like push regardless of missing last hits? Because I know E doesn't do a lot to minions.
Well, if you
So I don't think I
EQW,
would.
if you EQW the back wave, it dies. Done.
So I would. I wish I should just use all the skills on the back wave and then.
Yeah,
Auto
that's
the
fine.
that way? Okay.
Because the reality is, the faster you recall, the faster you get back on the map. So the faster you push this, the more minions he loses as well, right?
Okay.
So it's double benefits because one, you're denying him. Two, you get back on the map faster. And if you have a crash right here, then you technically could go for a roam, or you could just go get ward resets.
Mm-hmm.
Crashing it also has another benefit, which is it's going to slow push back to you again. So right now, you crash the wave, and we're roaming instead of spending our gold, and we know he just reset, right?
Yeah.
So this guy's coming back with an item advantage. So you either need to match that by going to buy your own items. This is a correct roam timer, like you are roaming at the right time, but in the context of this lane, you're not enabling yourself right now.
Mm-hmm.
So we just lost maybe 7 seconds. In the grand scheme of things, it's not horrible, but if he gets back to wave and he pushes this in, does 7 seconds matter? See what he does. So in terms of 7 seconds, you only lose 1 minion, which it's not awful, right? Just losing 1 minion. But what is he doing off of it?
So if I was here like earlier, you think he wouldn't be able to do this?
He wouldn't, because you'd be contesting the wave. And if he does do this, you could immediately punish him by pushing tower in.
Okay.
So he gets a head start on this roam, and he's not losing anything to do it right now because where's his wave?
Mm-hmm.
So you have to push this, but in your mind, you don't know if he's roaming or not.
I felt behind, and like the potential like 4v3 in bot lane, like was it not good to at least like consider it for a few seconds and see if it's an option to get back into the game?
You don't ever win that because they have a Soraka.
Oh, okay.
So,
Even if I like all in Soraka?
no, there's just no way. So let's go and go back here. You're hovering here. Your Thresh is top lane right now.
Mm-hmm.
That's the number one thing. Your Thresh is top lane. So even if it's a 3 versus 2, what is your Kindred's HP?
Oh, okay. I think, yeah, because
we don't know if this is warded, so you're basically banking on the fact that you get an ultimate here.
Okay. But how do I do that like before? How do I think of all this before like I don't know, like
It's just weighing, like, it is cost analysis. It's weighing the pros and the cons. What are the repercussions for doing this? This is a lot of, messed up stuff going on at the same time. Thresh going top, Kindred being this slow, farming wave. Kha'Zix waiting for the counter gank. But at the end of the day, you're on a Sapphire Crystal. You have legit 0 damage items.
Okay.
It's just a rough time. And by all means, this game isn't your fault. Like, you could be making minor improvements and you could be playing better. But this is a team game, right? Your bot lane 0-4, your jungle 0-2. There are things that you could have done to change the influence of the game, like maybe playing around this, or having a little bit stronger of a 1 versus 1 early. But in the grand scheme of things, it's all just stuff that butterfly affects.
Mm-hmm.
So you kind of got desperate for a play, and you forced something like this. And in the moment, that is a solo queue play, and it might work. But it's kind of like a Hail Mary at that, right? It's very low risk, it's very high risk, low reward. Now he gets to roam for free. Your rush ends up executing anyways, so you didn't actually lose anything here. So if anything, you're in an advantage. Because he's not getting XP right now, he's not getting gold. But we also don't know where he is still, so you're kind of hesitant on pushing this still. Bit of a meme. And then we go for a roam timer on this crash. We see Silas top lane, so we know that he's on Crab right now. We know that he's around Dragon because he did it. So we're not getting plate right now. So you could have greeted for plate because you already had vision with this red ward. You actually do kill him here. So oddly enough, you do kill him here. So good ignite, good R. That's a great shutdown. That's really massive. So you going
That's
for this
subtle too, I think.
Oh, let's see it. Oh, you do. So you get 100 gold plus a kill, which is 450 on shutdown. So this is massive. So I don't know if you knew he had no flash, but he just straight takes the R because you cast it really aggressively. And using your ult like that's a really good thing because they don't expect it to be led with. Another thing is if you cast QR at the same time, it hides the animation.
Oh.
You can, if you QR and they don't dodge the Q, the R will also just mess them up. But this is really insane for you. So like you're back in the game now. You're technically even. So at this point, we still see Silas top lane. You have enough gold to buy an Amp Tome and a Dark Seal. Or you could buy a Sork Boots and a Dark Seal. So I would go and just push this wave and then reset. Because if you're not spending your gold, it's the same as not having in the first place. Alright, so you definitely could have hovered towards your Kindred and your Thresh, but you played in the middle of the wave. So the only reason why you're dying here is because you're not respecting where could he be coming from, right? He was top. He's rotating towards mid. You see that you have a Thresh here, you have a Kindred here. The only side of the map that you should currently not be on is this side. Now, you do have Flash. You do have W. You land a nice Fear. But you're kind of kiting into him by running sideways when you should just be creating more. So the moment you landed that Fear, you should have just ran opposite direction of him.
Okay.
Kind of BM'd a little bit. But
yeah, I just didn't see the Cho'Gath.
Even then, like you don't want to be in that situation. Even if he has Cho'Gath R or not, your only goal here is to reset and spend your money. Because at the end of the day, like there's no reason to coin flip plays. You just want to make sure that you're making. Okay, so you can coin flip plays if you're Luden's Vex with Sorcerer Boots. I do that all the time. But in a situation like this where your team is behind, you kind of want to focus on taking plays that are weighted in your favor.
Okay.
At the end of the day, dying to the Silas, it sucks. Because it doesn't matter if it happens in the first place. Like, it shouldn't be a situation that comes up.
Better than the first time I died, though.
True. I agree with that. Factual statement based. I actually almost got the kill here. Your team's so insane. Alright, so you opt for Sorcerer Boots and Lost Chapter, so you get a whole bunch of money. You don't ever kill these people here because you don't have ults, so you're just catching wave. It's actually a good rotation. I keep forgetting Kindred is the AP. Alright, so your jungle, you don't have Ignite here and you don't have ult, you should ping this play off. This play doesn't ever work. It's actually working? What in the world?
And then I tank 4 Jin shots for my clone. Oh, and I was like, oh, it's not.
You guys actually get triple sums from that, which is crazy. I would not have thought that would work. Like, you don't even fear right now, and you have no cooldowns.
Yeah.
I think it's purely because Jin's not autoing here. Also, Shaco's kind of just broken, I'll be honest. It's... Okay, I know what it is. It's because they have double heal. If they had exhaust here. Alright, so you're rotating back mid. This game's already chaotic. Crazy. Nice. Okay, awesome. That's... Ooh, you kited back into him. So you had Fog of War advantage, so as long as you kept making distance, it's hard for him to immediately chain combo.
Oh, yeah. I just thought he would E right away, but yeah, I should just run.
You could also just immediately flash W here. Because technically you gave him time to flash away, but if you comboed it
Yeah.
off your fear. So at this
I
point...
just don't know like my damage yet, so I wasn't sure it did that much damage, and I was like, oh, neat.
Yeah. So at this
Yeah.
point... Let's go and just go blue camera. We're probably going too in-depth on this one. That's just for fun, though. I'm curious. So he had vision of you the whole time. And then you actually get the Kindred ult. Okay. So at this point, you're just waiting as long as possible to fear him before the ult runs out. So nicely played. Kindred has no mana, so you guys both end up dying.
I felt kind of bad.
That is... I mean, your Kindred has a noon quiver at 10 minutes. Kind of a smudge game. From this point onwards, the game's kind of unplayable. And at this point, like, the game is so chaotic that it's hard to, like... You can discuss it, and you can talk about plays that can be made, but it's ultimately coming from a place of just, like, context. You are a good player, so I wouldn't worry too much about macro decisions. Actually, almost dying here. Okay. Trading your ult for flash is always worth it, so I agree with that.
Should I have like Q'd first and then R'd, like to make it look like I was ulting first? Because like the Q looks like R, no?
Let's go back. So technically, if you lead with Q first here, you don't have fear, so it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
So if you had fear, then going for the Q first, because your Q doesn't kill him, so he still just walks away.
Yeah.
So you
Well,
have
but
to...
that's the thing is like when I Q, I feel like people or like when I play against Vex, right? People Q and I'm like, is that their ult or is it their Q? Like I really can't tell sometimes.
Yeah, you could
And
try.
like
You
at
could
this
try hiding
tense
the
situation.
animation. You could do the QR tech here, but I wouldn't wait until after the R. I would just QR
Oh,
at the
okay.
same time.
Okay.
Because if
You
he
don't think,
if
like-
if he thinks it's a Q and doesn't flash to dodge it, 100% you get the kill here. But if you Q to burn his dash first and then ult, it'll never.
Mm-hmm.
Because he doesn't have to. But I get what you're saying. Yeah, you are correct. But either way, you're trading flash for ult, so it's worth it for you. Except for the part where your team's down 4,000 gold and you're all losing.
Oh, okay.
So the lane that was supposed to be the worst lane is the lane that's performing the best.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so meme, dude. It's not too bad, all things considered. You get this pushed in, you have a whopping 1,200 gold, so you can just go on a reset here, go buy some items. In this particular game, you would be going Leandries or Crown. You don't ever go Ludens this game because...
Don't worry, I don't go any of those items.
Yeah, and the reason why we don't go Ludens here, even though like killing Kha'Zix or the Jhin or Soraka is a main priority, is because you won't be able to kill them through Soraka anyway. So That is kind of the Smoge moment. You're
I
definitely
can't
not
wait
one-shotting
until
these.
you see what item I get.
Oh, you're going Ludens.
No.
You're going Everfrost. Okay. It's not horrible, but like it's also just not great either. Cause like you're going Comet with Everfrost. You might as well just quit, honestly,
I
right
didn't know
there.
I had COVID.
Yeah, I would just FF. All things considered, it's not a horrendous game. There's a lot that you can improve on, but there's also things that you are doing correctly. It's just about like
Mhm.
applying more now that you are aware.
Mhm.
Do you have any questions about this particular game?
Um, I don't think so. I feel like most questions were answered during. Remember to smile. Subscribe. And also smile.
Exactly. Thank you very much for joining us on today's video where we are coaching a Masters mid laner, ROSELOL, who you can check out at twitch.tv/ROSELOL. If you made it this far through the video, remember to subscribe and like. You can check her out. Subscribe, do all that jazz. Twitch.tv/ Hold on, my drawing skills are insane. She's an artist, very talented. She's very lovely. Make sure you show some support. But I hope you all have a lovely day. Thank you.